Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash. We're going to continue with our NFL draft profile. We have the AFC East going for you today. We're going to start it with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills didn't have a first-round pick. It got traded to the Cleveland Browns. So their first pick in the draft was second-round pick Ronald Darby. He's a cornerback, 50th overall out of Florida State. Decent size at 5'11", 193, blazing 4.38 40-yard dash, only 12 bench reps. He's a guy with good speed, obviously. He changes directions quickly and has a good football IQ. He does stumble a little bit with receivers coming off an inside release. He struggles to play physical at the line, so he's not somebody who's going to be dominant. He's not going to jam guys. Bigger players like Calvin Johnson will get by him. He could be a good cover corner with his speed, but like I said, that lack of size is going to hurt him. His mix of good instincts and speed and so-so tackling, is needed a little better, but he should be all right. And, second-round pick, you're not always going to be a Hall of Famer, but you can be solid.
Well, he's pretty quick, but one thing they say that he does is keep his back to the quarterback. So he's going to have to learn to keep his eyes on the quarterback. And it was pretty surprising to me that they actually went corner here because they have McKelvin and Gilmore there already. So they're pretty good at corner. That's actually one of the positions they are strong at. So bringing in another corner is a surprise to me, although it can never hurt to have too many corners. But they have other needs that they should have been working on here with their first pick in the draft.
Maybe it's just the best player available and the fact that you play Tom Brady twice a year.
It's very well possible.
Their third-round pick was a guard, John Miller, 81st overall out of Louisville, 6'2", 303 pounds. He ran a 5.20 40, 29 bench reps. He's got good strength, good hands. He uses them well, gets good punch off the ball. He's got a little bit of a stiff lower body. He has below-average leverage when it comes to run blocking. He kind of leans into the guy in front of him instead of using technique to keep him out. He relies too much on strength, but all he's got to do is shore up that technique with a good O-line coach, and he should be a good guard in this league for a while.
This is a very strong guy that, you're right, he should have a good NFL career ahead of him. He does have some stuff to learn, but with that strength, it's really all they have to do is teach him the right tools, and then he should be good to go for the next 5 to 10 years at least.
He's a smart guy, too, so he'll catch on. They didn't have a fourth-round pick. It goes all the way down to the fifth round. They took Carlos Williams, a running back out of Florida State, 155th overall. He's 6'1", 230 pounds, runs a 4.48 40 with 16 bench reps, 33.5-inch vertical. He's a former safety. He's not afraid to play physical. He has good bursts to get to the corner and good top speed, but he runs a little too upright, which doesn't give him very good leverage. He's only played running back for 2 years, so is still raw in the position, and he doesn't really have the great instincts to kind of see a hole before it opens. He's more of if it's there, he'll get it, and kind of just a downhill runner right now.
Yeah, downhill, one cut. He can break tackles, but I don't think this is a difference maker.
No, he'll be a good, third back or somebody to use in short yardage. He'll make a team, but he'll never be a star.
Well, remember, you got LaShawn McCoy out there now, so he could be.
And Fred Jackson.
Yes, and Fred Jackson. Where'd C.J. Spiller go?
Saints.
To the Saints. Okay, so yeah, this guy isn't like Fred Jackson. Andy isn't like LaShawn McCoy, so it's nice to add that other piece to the backfield.
Right, yeah, he'll have a role. In the sixth round, they took linebacker Tony Stewart, 188th overall. This pick came from the Vikings. Stewart went to Clemson. He's 6 foot, 235 pounds. A good 4.64 40, 29 bench reps. Great strength for a linebacker. Athletic guy who can run the field sideline to sideline. Plays well against the run and is not afraid to get physical. He's a pretty good tackler, but he's struggled with injuries during his career. He's easily fooled by misdirection and play-action passes, and his limited playing time from the injuries kind of hurt his progression a little. So he's a guy who is still raw, but in the sixth round, he's a project guy, somebody that Rex Ryan likes, a type of player that fits his mold on defense. So it was a decent pick, I would say.
Yeah, he was actually a 5-star linebacker coming out of high school, but he suffered a torn ACL his sophomore year, and he never really lived up to the potential.
Right. Get him in there with some NFL doctors. Maybe that'll help him. The next pick for the Bills was Nick O'Leary, a tight end in the 6th round, 194th overall, out of Florida State. Good size at 6'3", 252. Slow 40-yard dash at 4.93, 21 bench reps, 30.5-inch vertical. He was used inline, in the backfield, and from the slot in college. He plays with aggression. He uses good technique as a run blocker, using his feet well in pass protection. He's not a great athlete, though. He doesn't get out of his release very quickly. He's not a guy with great top speed. So he's not somebody who's a burner. I guess he can go down the seam for maybe 5, 10, 15 yards, but he's not outrunning anybody to the end zone. But he's a good system guy. He's a good second tight end. He's almost like another offensive lineman out there.
Well, they also have Charles Clay out there and this Chris Gregg, who they said this guy is going to be actually competing with. And they said they have very similar skill sets, reliable hands, but you're right, nothing too fancy about him.
Solid football player.
Yeah, so they're going to compete for a roster spot, and we'll see what happens with it.
A lot of teams are deploying 2 tight end sets now to throw defensive off. Are they running? Are they passing? So there's a role for a second tight end. Their 7th round pick was Desmond Lewis, wide receiver out of Central Arkansas. Big guy, 6'14", 214, ran a 4.46 40 with 16 bench reps. 37-inch vertical for a 6'4" player is beast. He has good height, uses it to his advantage. He keeps corners on their heels before their breaks. They're afraid he's going to go deep on them. He has decent quickness and speed for his size, and he comes back to the ball well. He doesn't, make quarterbacks always get the ball to him. His level of competition was a concern, though. He relied a little bit too much on his long arms, and he doesn't use technique and getting his body in front of the defender to catch the pass. So he's a guy who was relying all on athleticism and just needs to work on the skill part of it a little.
Yeah, like you said, his college competition comes into question. However, he dominated. So that's one good thing. And he earned a Senior Bowl invite where he did make a couple plays. So he does have some upside. Most people believe he's more of a number 4 at his best.
Good size, though, so he can carve out a niche. Red zone guy, maybe. Third down.
Compared to the other teams in this division, the Buffalo Bills brought in a slew of players. NC State offensive tackle Tyson Chandler, Illinois State offensive tackle Jermaine Barton, Louisville Lafayette defensive tackle Justin Hamilton, Wake Forest cornerback Merrill Knoll, Western Kentucky cornerback Cam Thomas. Pittsburgh loves that name. South Florida receiver Andre Davis, Baylor punter Spencer Roth, University of Washington defensive end Andrew Hudson, Texas defensive end Cedric Reed, Florida tight end Clay Burton, Utah State defensive end B.J. Larson, and Bethune-Cookman defensive end Eric Williams. They also brought in Stanford linebacker A.J. Tarpley, who a lot of teams were actually interested in.
Rex Ryan likes to win from the ground up, so he's going to try to put a good defense out there with a good running game, and hopefully his quarterback doesn't screw everything up for him.
Well, he played for a good team, obviously. He's 6'2", 232 pounds. On his pro day, he ran a 4.75 twice. He had 24 bench reps, a 34 vertical. So he has some of the intangibles. And, he made plays in college as well. Over his last 2 years, he had 93 tackles in 2013, 84 tackles in 2014. I love to see the tackles out of college players, personally. I think it doesn't always translate over, but if a guy produces, I'm just talking tackles, not sacks, not interceptions, just the tackles, that guy can usually translate that to the NFL.
You can see that he's always around the ball carrier. You don't get a lot of tackles unless you're near the ball carrier, so it's somebody who's hungry.
But yeah, I think he can definitely have a chance to make this team. He was expected to be maybe a 7th round pick. I know the Steelers were interested in him, and I'm sure a few other teams were as well. And Buffalo won.
Buffalo didn't have a bad draft, nothing flashy, but they filled in some spots they thought they needed some depth. So, Rex Ryan thinks they could make the Super Bowl this year, but that's what he always says. So,
well, if he got to, the AFC Championship with Dirty Sanchez how many times?
Twice.
So he can do it with whoever.
E.J. Manuel or Matt Castle.
Yeah, he could do it with them too. Why not?
Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins. They're a little more well-rounded at the quarterback position, even though Ryan Tannehill is not great in my opinion. But their first pick, they took Devontae Parker, wide receiver, 14th overall out of Louisville, trying to help Tannehill out. Parker's a big guy at 6'3", 209 pounds, runs a 4.45 40, 17 bench reps, a 36.5-inch vertical. He's got good body control and uses his size to help him make plays. He's a guy with a wide catch radius, long arms, big hands. He can make big plays without having elite speed. He doesn't have great strength for his size. You'd like to see him put on a little bit of strength in his core, and he doesn't play great against press coverage because of that, but that's something that he'll pick up as time goes on. Rookies aren't great at everything. Other than that, this guy doesn't have a whole lot of holes. Maybe his routes aren't as crisp as they could be. He rounds them off a little bit. He definitely should go and compete for the number one spot there at wide receiver for the Dolphins. All they got is Kenny Stills.
Yeah, Stills is a good receiver, don't get me wrong. But Devontae Parker has to be the number one receiver in this offense. And like you said, he's a big guy. I think this guy is going to be a good football player. And actually, he had foot surgery and then came back and actually played in 6 games and had 43 receptions in those 6 games. So this is a guy you can tell that wants to be out there too.
He's tough. Reminds of a Hines Ward. A little bit more physical traits though.
Yeah.
The second round pick for the Dolphins was nose tackle Jordan Phillips out of Oklahoma. 6'5", 329 pounds. But only a 5'17", 40, 28 bench reps, 30-inch vertical, but let's face it, he's not going to be jumping very often. He's got a huge frame, long arms. He's an athletic guy for his size. He's a good two-gap nose who can eat up blocks and free some linebackers up to get through. He was able to split some double teams with his good footwork. He does disappear for long stretches of time. He needs to keep his pads lower. He quits on plays if he loses right off the bat at the line of scrimmage. So it's something they just need to work on with the coaching. Get him ready, get that mentality, that grinder. You want that aggression out of a nose tackle.
Well, when this guy's on, he can dominate at times, and the best thing about him is he can control the run game very well. The one thing is, we talked about him in first-round mock drafts. This guy could have went in the first round, but there is a question about his football character, and that's really why he dropped down to, the second round here.
They signed Ndamukong Suh in the offseason, so if they can put him, and if Phillips can get it together and learn from Suh or play alongside him, that could be a good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to run against him.
Their next pick was in the 4th round, offensive guard Jamil Douglas from Arizona State. He's 6'4", 304 pounds, runs a 5.25 40, 28 bench reps. He's an athletic guy with good flexibility in his lower body. He's good quickness. He can catch the blitzers off the corner. He's somebody who can pull and lead block in the second level. He's more of a finesse player, not necessarily a mauler. You would think at 6'4", 304, he'd be a guy who just runs through you. He uses technique more than strength, which, again, is just as bad as using strength instead of technique. You want somebody who does both equally well, or at least knows when to use both. He's a guy who'll struggle against power rushers, so you don't want him to have to go one-on-one against the likes of somebody like Haloti Ngata, at least early in his career.
Yeah, this is someone that can play guard or tackle, like you said. He's versatile. I don't know if you said those words exactly, but he can develop into a pretty good pass blocker in the future, and he should be able to stick around on this team, I believe.
Teams like to have that swing guy on the offensive line that can play guard or tackle.
Yeah, he's more suited as a guard, but he can play tackle in a pinch. You're going to see him play guard more often than not, though.
The next guy they took was Bobby McCain, the cornerback out of Memphis. They took him in the 5th round, 145th overall. Smaller guy at 5'9", 195, ran a 4.5 140 with 17 bench reps and a 36-inch vertical. He has good leap for his size, which he'll need at 5'9". He has good hands. He had 11 interceptions in the last 2 years. He's a guy who can make plays even outside of his area, plays well in run support. He's a wrap-up tackler. Some of the knocks, though, he doesn't have great size. He doesn't have the greatest technique. He relies more on aggression and strength. At 17 bench reps is pretty beast for a corner, actually. He can get turned around a little bit by the outside receivers, and he doesn't have great top-end speed. So if you give him a double move and get him going the wrong way, it's not hard for a receiver to get past him, and he's not going to catch up.
Yeah, like you said, he's strong. This is a very tough guy, and he can actually turn into a good player. The only thing that scares me is that size/speed put together. That's going to be very tough. But like you said, he can tackle very well. This guy can be a very good corner. but he has to be great at everything outside of that speed because of his size as well.
And he better play special teams well, because he's going to be one of the last defensive backs to make a roster. So if he can't play special teams, you might as well not even try. Another guy they took was Jay Ajayi, the running back, in the 5th round out of Boise State. He's 6 foot, 221 pounds, ran a 4.57 40 with 19 bench reps and a 39-inch vertical. Guy with good size and quick feet. He's a former soccer player. He has good athleticism. He can make a defender miss. He can get skinny to get through some tight holes. He runs with a wide base. He does dance a little bit sometimes behind the line. People in Pittsburgh seen Rashard Mendenhall do that. He's not Barry Sanders. He doesn't get to the corner very quickly, and he doesn't always run with power, and his 11 fumbles and his only 597 carries is a little bit of a red flag.
To me, this guy could be a steal in this draft. He is a guy that I think can replace Lamar Miller, who's in a contract year. He can be the feature running back, I believe. I don't know if you remember, I was talking about him. My brother actually mentioned him on one of the segments he was on. This guy can be a feature running back in the NFL. And look, he had knee concerns. He had knee problems in college. But let's face it, running backs don't last long anyway. So if he can give you a good 3-4 years, then you got a steal in this draft.
Believe it. As long as he doesn't fumble the ball, he's got the athleticism to play the position. You just got to hope he doesn't put it on the ground. Get some stick him. Everybody else cheats. Why not?
Please believe. Trade him to New England.
The next guy is Cedric Thompson. He's a free safety out of Minnesota. They took him in the 5th round, 150th overall. He's 6 foot, 208 pounds, runs a 4.5 40, 21 bench reps with a 40.5-inch vertical. He can play deep or near the line of scrimmage. He has good size. He can compete with the bigger tight ends. He's a good wrap-up tackler with decent closing speed. He doesn't have great football IQ. It takes a while for him to diagnose a play sometimes. He'll take a bad angle at a ball carrier and miss him. So he needs to be a little more patient in run support. He allows a little too much space in zones for receivers. If he can do better there and do better on play fakes, he could compete for some playing time 2, maybe 3 years down the road.
Well, the Miami Dolphins have Louis Delmas still, and he is actually coming off of ACL surgery. So it's going to be nice. This guy can actually probably sit for a season unless Delmas has some problems and learn behind Delmas, which will be good for him in the long run.
Yeah, 5th round, you don't expect him to come in day 1, but he definitely has some tools to be able to start maybe year 2.
But like you said, he just has to work on those problems he has. But the one thing they do say he has is great range, so he can turn into a good free safety.
Teams believe that any defensive back with the athleticism can learn to play the position because they all get burnt at some point in time. The next guy up is Tony Lippett, wide receiver from Michigan State. They took him in the 5th round, 156th overall. This is a pick they got from the Eagles. He's 6 foot 2, 192 pounds, runs a 4.59 40 with only 10 bench reps and a 36-inch vertical. He was the team MVP and ended the 2014 season as both the starting wide receiver and cornerback for Michigan State. He's a tall guy with good agility. He finds the open space. He catches the ball well with his hands. He goes up to the highest point to get it. He doesn't wait for it to come down. He's not going to be a big playmaker at wide receiver. He rounds out his routes a little bit. He does have below average play strength, as I pointed out, with only 10 bench reps. He's definitely not going to play the cornerback position, but he played both positions. That may be a strength to some people. It's a weakness to others because he's not as well-rounded at wide receiver as he could be.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, if he doesn't get it done at wide receiver, I wouldn't count out them not giving him a chance at all on the defensive side.
You got to get a little stronger.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get something done on special teams, maybe work your way into a role on the defense if you're just not getting it done on the offensive side. Because like you said, he can make a play downfield, but he really doesn't have the skills to stick at wide receiver. But really, if they're down a couple defensive backs, I wouldn't be surprised if he made it in there for a play or two.
Slip him in.
You know what I mean? Undrafted free agents by the Miami Dolphins. They brought in Arizona offensive tackle Mickey Baucus, Tennessee punter Matt Darr, Penn State linebacker Mike Hall, Oklahoma guard Deontay Savage, and then they brought in 2 wide receivers, Maine wide receiver DeMar Altman and Alabama wide receiver Christian Jones. Now, both of these guys are shorter guys. at 5'11". Altman maybe had a little bit better of a career at Maine at wide receiver, but he also played for the lesser team, and Christian Jones was a pretty decent kick returner as well. He had 851 return yards on 37 returns last season, so maybe he carves out a role on special teams.
Gotta make it somehow.
If not, I mean, these guys most likely probably slot receivers if they work their way into the offense.
Let's move on to the world cheating, Super Bowl winning New England Patriots. Biggest cheaters in sports.
I seen him and Mike Matheny hanging out too.
With the 32nd pick in the first round, the Patriots took Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle out of Texas. This is a guy we had projected way higher. He's 6'2", 319 pounds, runs a 5'0", 540 with 26 bench reps. He keeps his hips low at the snap. He's got good quickness for a big guy. He started to dominate more as the season went on, not dominated early and trail off as the season went on like most players. He has good power. He uses his hands to discard blockers with ease. He can recover if he loses at the snap. He's not somebody who's just going to give up. One of the problems with him, though, is even with his good size, he doesn't always play physical. He tries to get a little too flashy and, I don't know, bust out a spin move. When you're 319, you just go through people. You don't worry about spin moves. So he needs to have a better motor as a pass rusher, improve his strength in his lower body a little bit, and this guy will be going straight through people, just like Vince Wilfork did for years.
Yeah, I think this is a good replacement for Wilfork, and the Patriots did exactly what I expected them to do. Just sit there and wait for someone to fall to him, and whoever it is, you take him, and he's going to be a good player for him.
In the second round, the Patriots took strong safety Jordan Richards from Stanford. He's 5'11", 211 pounds, runs a 4.5, 940, 13 bench reps, 32-inch vertical. He has good hands. He doesn't wait for the ball to come to him. He goes and gets it. He's got good range and run support. He's not afraid to go up and make the tackle. He's a guy with good recovery speed if he gets beat deep. He does have some coverage limitations, so he better use that recovery speed well. He has below average instincts as a deep safety. He struggles a little bit in man coverage, and he gets grabby. That's pretty much his problem in man coverage. He wants to grab you and ride you the whole way down the field. You can't do that in the NFL. They'll flag you almost every single time, and it's not like college where it's 15 yards. You rough somebody up 50 yards down the field, you just screwed your team.
This was actually maybe a reach for the Patriots. He was actually expected to go maybe fourth round, but he's a very smart guy, and the Patriots seem to get the most out of their players, and just how the Patriots do it, he should be a good player for him.
You can't argue with them. They just keep winning, the bastards.
Although it may be a little cheating in there.
A lot of cheating. Their third round pick was Geno Grissom, defensive end out of Oklahoma. This was a compensatory pick that they were awarded. He's 6'3", 262 pounds. He runs a 4.8, 140, 20 bench reps with a 37-inch vertical. He's got long arms. He played D-end and outside linebacker in college. He gets good arm extension against tight ends. He can set the edge. He has good burst off the snap, and he has good inside moves, so he can get the tackle, the left tackle, to make that one step to the left, and then he can come back inside and get to the quarterback quickly. He needs to get a little lower at the point of attack, moving from defensive end to tight end, then back to defensive end, then to linebacker. Kind of hurt him a little bit in college. He's not refined at his position, but this is a guy the Patriots like. Great athleticism, great football mind. He could play offense and defense. Who does this remind you of? Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel came in. He played D-end in college. He played linebacker in the pros, and then he went on to play some tight end in the red zone for the Patriots in their early years of the Super Bowl runs. So this is a guy who's just like him.
Yeah, like I was saying, Richards is a smart player. That's the kind of players New England likes. And this Grissom is the kind of player that the New England likes too. He can rush off the edge. He can drop into coverage. He's very versatile, and he's smart too. So this is exactly the type of players New England likes to bring in.
As much as I hate Belichick, I love how his defense isn't defined as a 3-4 or a 4-3. It's whatever the hell he needs it to be that week to beat the team that he's playing. That play, you're right. It's crazy. He's just a great defensive mind.
Just keep bringing in these smart players. They pick up on how to cheat quicker.
That's it. If you're smart, you can cheat. Maybe Jesse the Body Ventura works for them. In the 4th round, they took another DN, Trey Flowers, 101st overall. This is a pick that came from Tampa Bay. He went to Arkansas in college. He's 6'2", 266, ran a 4.8, 340 with 28 bench reps. He's a guy with a high motor. He uses his punch effectively. He's still growing as a pass rusher, but he can shed blockers against the run and get to the ball carrier quickly. He doesn't have great burst off the ball, so he's not going to come around the corner very well. He needs to develop better pass rush moves. He's more of a scheme player, but we just said it 3 times in a row. I think that's what Belichick likes. This is somebody that they'll fit in. He'll be a tweener between linebacker and D-end. He'll probably mostly play on 3rd downs, and he'll probably go out and get 5-6 sacks his rookie year out of a 4th round pick.
Yeah, Belichick likes to rotate players in off of his defensive line.
Keep him fresh.
He's actually better against the run, so maybe 3rd down isn't the best position for him, though. Maybe he's more of, if it's a definite run situation, you see him come in, though.
Yeah, he'll need to put on a little weight at only 266, though, to hold up at D-end over the long haul.
Right.
Maybe play at 280, that'll help out. Another 4th round pick was Trey Jackson, the offensive guard from Florida State. He was 111th overall. The pick came from Cleveland. He's 6'4", 330 pounds, not a fast guy at a 5'5", 240, only 20 bench reps, 25-inch vertical. He uses strength and leverage to stand up the defenders. He's so big that it doesn't even matter if you're really good. To go against this guy, you just wear out over the course of a game. It gets so tiring to try to push around somebody at his size. He can actually get to the 2nd level pretty well for a big guy. He needs to maybe shed some of that weight if he wants to play in the New England scheme. They like to be able to be a little more athletic, but I don't see this guy losing more than maybe 10, 15 pounds because that's his thing. He's a big guy. He pushes you around. His footwork he needs to work on a little bit. He gets tangled up sometimes when he's trying to slide. If the guard has to drop back and the tackle takes the inside guy and the guard moves out, he's not too great at that. He's not real great in open space one-on-one. You know, if he's lead blocking for you, yeah, you'll stay right behind him and keep moving, but don't expect him to just knock all these people over in the open field.
He's not as good of a pass blocker as he is a run blocker, and like you said, he can get to the 2nd level pretty quick, so that's going to be good for him. And New England doesn't have the greatest line either, so he could very well compete for a starting spot or at least get some major playing time this season and be a future starter for the Patriots.
He's definitely that guy that they could bring in goal line situations and be that extra offensive lineman. Another lineman they took is Shaq Mason, a center out of Georgia Tech. They took him in the 4th round, 6'1", 300 pounds, a little faster, 4'9", 740, 25 bench reps. He's a good drive blocker. He keeps his pad low coming off the snap. He keeps his feet moving through contact. He uses that good strength to get to the 2nd level and maintain blocks. He's a little short. He's probably going to move to guard from center. A lot of people didn't even have him rated as center at all coming out of the draft. So 6'1" is a little short for guard, but he does project there better. He gets a little too wide in pass protection sometimes, but moving him into guard, you'll be sandwiched in between the center and the tackle. You kind of only have one area. You don't have too many responsibilities to move around in space. He will take bad angles sometimes in a zone blocking scheme for his running back. These are all little things that you can work on, little nuances that if you didn't do it a lot as a young guy, you're not great at it. It's just how it goes. This is somebody who can come in. He can play any slot along the line. He'll fit in well in New England. Feels like we've said that about everybody.
Jackson and Mason both have work to do in the passing game, but they are both very good run blockers. And Mason may be even a better run blocker. And New England,
they're not going to start either one of these guys right now, so It's not like they have to worry about that,
Right. I mean, Tom Brady gets rid of the ball pretty quick, too, and they really need to work on their run game at times. I mean, building it up around the run can help in the long run.
Especially when you don't. I mean, they have LeGarrette Blount, and who's the other back up there? I don't even know. Nobody great. That's my point. They need to run by teamwork, Run by committee at running back and run by good. The Dallas Cowboys really think that their offensive line was the reason why they ran the ball so well. That's why they let DeMarco Murray roll out and brought in Darren McFadden. So maybe that's something the Patriots are trying to do, run well by committee. The next guy they took, this was a huge reach for me in the 5th round. He's a long snapper. His name's Joe Cardona out of Navy. This pick came from the Packers, so maybe that's why they thought they could, waste it. I don't know what better word to use. He's only 6'2", 242 pounds. He does run a 4.9 140, 30 bench reps, and a 33-inch vertical. He's always been a long snapper. He's very, very accurate on punts and field goals. This guy can snap the ball up to 41 miles an hour. How would you like to get hit by that?
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. But I would like to say, you call baseball players sissies for getting hit by 100-mile-an-hour pitches in their arm, but you're worried about a football hitting you at 41 mile per hour?
Well, I'm just saying it's beast that this dude can snap a ball between his legs at 41 miles per hour.
I hear you.
I don't see any baseball players hunching over and snapping
I
the ball
actually
between
read
their
his
legs.
father taught him at a young age to be a long snapper, so to give him the best chance to be an NFL football player.
He doesn't have much coverage, though, after the snap. He's not a guy that's going to run around and make the tackle too much. He needs to improve breaking down in space. And his 5-year naval commitment, it might need some special, I don't know. I don't even know what the hell they call it. He might need some special assignment or something from the Navy to even be allowed to play.
And New England may need a punter/wide receiver to punt for him so he can catch the ball.
All right, well, let's move on to a more conventional player that they took. Matthew Wells, the linebacker out of Mississippi State. They got him in the 6th round, 178th overall. Another pick from somebody else from the Buccaneers. How the hell they get all these picks from other teams, I don't know. He's 6'2", 222 pounds, runs a 4.4, 4.40, 15 bench reps, 35.5-inch vertical. He started all 26 games over the last 2 years for Mississippi State. He did not allow any TDs in pass coverage last season, and he has real good speed for the position. He's a little undersized, which makes him not a very good tackler. He'll need to build up a little bit of strength, especially in his legs. He's an athletic guy. He was productive in college. He's a smarter guy. Put on a little bit of weight, and he could be a pretty good player.
Yeah, he's probably going to start off on special teams, but I think he can make an impact on special teams. And he ran at 4.4 something on his pro day.
Believe it, 4.44.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fast out of a linebacker. If he can put on that weight, like you were saying, this guy could turn into a really good football player, if you ask me. And this could be a steal in the draft.
You never know. The Patriots may ask him to shed 5 pounds and become a safety.
Yeah, I guess you never do know about the Patriots.
Got the size for it. 6th round pick for the Patriots was tight end A.J. Derby, 202nd overall, from the Browns through the Ravens. They're getting picks from other teams through other teams. Derby went to Arkansas. He's 6'4", 255 pounds, runs a 4.69 40, 15 bench reps. Big guy, plays fast. He's good in space. He's got soft hands. He can find the zone. He can line up at tight end, line up in the slot. He only had 1 drop in 2014. He only has 1 year of tight end experience. He'll need to improve his route running. He's not real crisp, and he's not the best run blocker. So he's a guy that you'll see more in the passing game, but he's got good size. He creates mismatches with smaller defensive backs, and that's what they like, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, they have a lot to teach this guy, though. Like you said, he's not going to be in on the run game. And he has great hands, but everything from the snap until he catches the ball needs work.
Right.
So there's a lot to do, but the Patriots, they come up with these tight ends, these kind of tight ends as well. Remember Tim Wright last season?
They're going to switch him to place kicker, and he's going to set the record for consecutive field goals in the NFL.
Hey, I bet you if he can punt, there's your punter right there. He can catch.
In the 7th round, Patriots took Darryl Roberts. He's a cornerback out of Marshall. They took him 247th overall from the Packers. 6 foot, 182 pounds, 4.38 40, 23 bench reps. Good recovery speed. He has good change of direction. He uses his long arms to help in coverage. He can play outside his area. He's a good special team guy. He gets a little too physical with receivers sometimes downfield, taking too many penalties. He's not great in his back pedal, and he doesn't have great awareness. He's a little impatient when waiting to react to plays, and sometimes they just end up past him. He's already gone because he was too impatient.
Yeah, he pretty much really just needs to learn how to play cornerback still, but he has everything else. He has the speed. He has not great size, but he has good size. So all they have to do is teach him how to play cornerback.
Another 7th-round pick was Xavier Dixon, outside linebacker, 253rd overall, compensatory pick. He went to Alabama. He's 6'3", 260 pounds, 4'7", 440, 19 bench reps, 29.5-inch vertical. He had 5 straight games with at least a half a sack during conference play. He had 9 total sacks last year. He gets good jump off the ball. He stays low, keeps his pads low. He needs to build a little bit more muscle and lose a little bit of weight. So his playing weight is fine. He just needs to change it from weight to muscle. He's not dominating against tight ends right now. He's not going to set the edge and hold it consistently. But he's just somebody who's a project guy. He's big. He's strong. He's got good speed for his size. So he is a rotational player, maybe a practice squad player for this year. But it's definitely somebody they feel has some potential upside.
Well, I mean, you can see the upside just from his college stats. He led his team with 9 sacks and 12.5 tackles for a loss last season. So the plays are there. Undrafted free agents, New England Patriots felt like they didn't have to bring much in. Georgia center David Andrews, Michigan quarterback Devin Gardner, Alabama Birmingham cornerback Jimmy Jean, Auburn safety Brandon King, and they brought in this Cal receiver Chris Harper. He's only 5'11", 175 pounds, so he probably could put on a little weight. And plus, he's not the fastest guy in the world. A 4.52 and a 4.54 40-yard dash on his pro day. His vertical jump was 35 inches, broad jump 10 feet. But in 2014, he had 52 receptions, 634 yards, and 6 touchdowns. In 2013, he had 70 catches for 852 yards and 5 touchdowns. This is a guy that has quick feet, and he is a great route runner. So this is a perfect guy for Tom Brady, the Wes Welker type. He's not going to burn you down the field. He just runs great routes, has quick feet, and can get open for you. So that's exactly what Tom Brady's looking for right now.
Yeah, so much of their offense is predicated on the receiver being able to find the zone and him and Brady being on the same page and just dinking and dunking their way down the field.
And that's exactly what this guy will bring for you.
Well, they hope that it can be the next Wes Welker. Wasn't he undrafted?
I don't know. He came from Miami. They got him from Miami, I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was an undrafted guy signing in Miami.
I'm not quite sure.
Somebody
It
said
wouldn't
he
doubt
should-
me at all. I'm sure people didn't look at him and say, this guy's going to be a beast.
People were saying the Steelers should sign him. I just laughed.
Yeah, that's too much.
Well, let's move on to the last team here in the AFC East. We got the New York Football Jets. I think they got the best player in the draft at Leonard Williams, the defensive end out of USC. He's 6'5", 302 pounds. He ran a 4.97 40 with a 29.5-inch vertical. He's a guy who's blessed with elite talent. He has good athleticism and length. He can play any position along the D-line. Like I said, he was rated number 1 on some teams' draft boards. He uses his good strength in his hands to shed blockers in the run game. He doesn't get great burst off the snap, and he needs to transition from run to pass quicker on fakes. He straightens his legs a little bit and gets a little too high sometimes in the pass rush. So these are all very, very little nuances of his game that he'll perfect over time. But I just think he's going to dominate in the NFL. Todd Bowles got a good pick here, and he loves defense.
Yeah, this was definitely the way to go in this draft for them. I can't believe Williams actually fell to the 6th pick. He should have went first overall, if you ask me. But I know people love the quarterbacks, but that means he should have went 3rd overall at worst. And Jacksonville probably wishes they would have taken him.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure they're going to like Fowler in the future, but not so much now. The 2nd-round pick for the Jets was wide receiver Devin Smith out of Ohio State. He's 6 foot, 196 pounds. He ran a 4.42 40 with 10 bench reps and a 39-inch vertical. He's a guy with good acceleration. He's a smooth strider with long legs. He has good feet and game-breaking speed. He could track the ball over his shoulder when he's going downfield. This guy averaged 28 2-point yards per catch, and 54.5% of his catches were for 25-plus yards in 2014. So if you want game-breaking speed and big plays to help out Geno Smith, who's apparently going to be the starter there this year, this is the guy to do it.
Yeah, listen, I like this guy.
Crazy good.
Yeah, like you said, he has the speed. He has a knack to find the end zone. He makes the big plays. The only problem is he doesn't have the quarterback to show off all his skills. So he may just wash out in New York in a couple years, and you may see him pop up few years from now as a pretty good receiver for another team.
One thing he needs to really work on is his run blocking too. He's a terrible run blocker, and the Jets, they're going to run the ball and play good defense. So that may keep him off the field day one, but he'll definitely find his way out there. Geno Smith, terrible. Their third-round pick was Lorenzo Maldine. He's an outside linebacker out of Louisville. They took him 82nd overall. This pick came from the Texans. He's 6'4", 259 pounds. He ran a 4.85 40-yard dash with 23 bench reps. He's a confident guy. He has a good football IQ. He has good second effort. He won't quit on a play. He's productive against the run, good awareness against the pass. He needs to add a little bit of lower body strength and keep his pads lower coming off the ball. He slows down when he's engaged with a blocker. He doesn't shed him very well to get to the ball carrier.
Listen to what this guy went through. First of all, he lived in 16 different foster homes growing up. He lived in a group home while attending high school. And then he committed to South Carolina out of high school, but was a late signee at Louisville. He was told the day before signing day that South Carolina no longer had room for him.
Nice.
This poor dude, I hope he tears it up in the NFL.
Believe it. You love to see guys like that get it.
Please believe. What they're going to have to do is make a movie of this guy.
Believe it, even though...
The Blind Side Part 2.
The Blind Side kid said he hates that movie, and he hates Sandra Bullock.
Really?
He doesn't hate Sandra Bullock, but he did really
why
say
you
he
gotta
hates
hate
the movie.
Sandra Bullock?
Well, the fourth-round pick is somebody that Jets fans are calling the savior of their franchise. And not too many times you say a fourth-round pick can do that for you. Quarterback Bryce Petty out of Baylor. This is a pick that came to the Jets from the Jaguars. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. He ran a 4.87 40 with a 34-inch vertical. He's got good size and just enough speed to play quarterback in the NFL. Not great speed, but just enough. He's a good competitor. He was a team leader. He actually had a 21-point fourth-quarter comeback against TCU in 2014, so he stays composed even in the tough times. Some people do think that he could only become a system quarterback, though, because he needs to work on his accuracy, especially in zone coverage. A lot of times you want to say he can't put the ball in place in man coverage. It's like maybe he doesn't throw it hard enough in the zone, and he sees the guy so wide open, he doesn't put enough zip on the ball to get it there, and defenders are able to break on the ball real easy against this guy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Bryce Petty, he has the size, he has the arm, he has the upside.
The leadership.
But I'm never sold on quarterbacks. I wasn't sold on the first two quarterbacks taken in this draft, so I'm not going to sit here and say Bryce Petty's going to be a good quarterback, but he definitely has the potential in him.
The only quarterback I was sold on coming out of college was Ben Roethlisberger.
Get out of here with that. Andrew Luck, everybody knew that dude was going to be a beast.
In the fifth round, the Jets picked up Jarvis Harrison, the offensive guard out of Texas A&M. He's a big guy at 6'4", 330, ran a 5.19 40 with 26 bench reps. Strong lower body, good footwork for a big guy who can get to the second level. He blocks with good technique, not just power. He can play tackle in an emergency, but he can be bull rushed a little easily, even for his size. He's not real quick off the snap, and he needs to work on his hand fighting when it comes to pass blocking. Defenders are able to just kind of chuck him, what do they call that, the swim move, and get right past him, and quarterback's dead.
Yeah, they're going to have to teach him some things. He actually played in a different system in Texas A&M that you're going to see in New York.
Right.
Texas A&M ran a spread system, while New York, they're all about
slow, controlled offense.
Exactly. But, hey, you worked in a spread system, you always have a job here, man.
Hey, you know what? He can go hang out with Johnny Manziel in Cleveland and lose there. In the seventh round, the Jets took nose tackle Deion Simon out of Northwestern State, 223rd overall. He's 6'4", 321 pounds, ran a 5.12 40, 35 bench reps. Big, strong, wide frame, good upper body strength, uses his hands real well to keep the offensive lineman at bay. He's solid against the run. He doesn't get off the ball real quick, but you don't expect a guy that size really to. He needs to bend his legs a little more, keep his pads a little lower, and he needs to develop that nose tackle motor that we've said this about a guy already today. You got to have that mentality where I just want to kill whoever has the ball, or if it's just your job to take out blocks, you just want to kill the center on that play. You cannot take plays off when you're the nose tackle.
he's actually an older prospect compared to other players he's been playing with, and he's dealt with knee injuries in the past. But you look, I mean, he's 6'4", 321 pounds, 7th round. I mean, that's the size you want, so there's good reason why to take a flyer on him here at least.
Believe it. And the Jets want to be big and strong and physical, so he's the type of guy to do it.
Undrafted free agents, like the New England Patriots, the New York Jets did not do much. Syracuse safety Darrell Eskridge, Tennessee defensive end Jordan Williams, Lincoln University defensive line Devon Walls, and South Alabama tight end Wes Saxton. Saxton, 6'3", 248 pounds. He has decent size. He's quick off the snap. He runs very good routes. He's too quick for linebackers, so that's really the upside he has here. The only problem is he is not good in the run game at all.
Yeah, if you can't block for the run, you can't play for me, son.
Please believe. But he was actually projected as high as the 5th round in early mock drafts, so signing him as a free agent looks like a good deal for the Jets.
Take a flyer on him, why not? Help Geno out. You got to put some kind of weapons around that poor bastard. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you, Dash, for coming in. Thank you, fans, for listening. Fans, you can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the website at thespreadnews.simplesite.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.